Welcome to The Straight Stitch, a podcast about sewing and other fiber arts. This is episode 122, and my name is Janet Szabo. I'll be your guide as we explore all things sewing. It's almost the middle of May here. It's going to be time to plant in a couple of weeks. I know it's been really nice, and I think probably a few people have put out plants, but it looks like it's going to get cold again next week. Another Mother Nature head fake, so I'm going to wait to plant my garden. In the meantime, I have 2 empty weeks on my calendar. I can hardly believe it. Besides cutting the grass and taking care of the plants for the plant sale that I'm chairing in a week and a half, I should have a fair bit of time to do some sewing, and I'm excited about this. Last week, I was able to finish adjusting the Simplicity 8909 pattern. That's the raglan with the bust dart, and I've got that morphed into a well-fitting top pattern. So I'm going to be getting out some of my fabrics to make some tops using that pattern. I also made a Scout tee. That's a Grainline Studio pattern, and it's one that I've used very successfully in the past. So slowly but surely, I am adding tops to my wardrobe. I also made a pair of Style Arc Linda pants, and I hemmed those just before church on Sunday morning so I could wear them. So we'll see what I get done this week. Probably at least one more Scout tee, and probably a couple of the new Simplicity 8909 pattern. We're going to jump right in today because this is an interview episode, and my interview episodes always seem to last a little bit longer. The guests and I usually get to chatting, and before we know it, almost a whole hour has gone by. My guest today is Christine Lewis, and Christine was recommended to me by one of my other podcast listeners, so thank you for that. You know who you are. I love getting recommendations because you, who are my listeners, often know people who are really interesting or doing interesting things. So having you refer them to me is a great way to let everybody else hear about them. Christine lives in Tacoma, Washington. She is a member of the Tacoma Modern Quilt Guild and a teacher and a long arm quilter. She runs a business called Rubber Ducky Quilting, and I will put the links to her Instagram and her website in the show notes. What made Christine's story so fascinating to me is that she is an electrician by trade, and I'm going to let her tell that story. So here we go. So I'm here with Christine Lewis. Hi, Christine.
Hello.
How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you very much.
That's great.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So one of my listeners recommended you as a podcast guest, and you have a business called Rubber Ducky Quilting. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is my nickname.
But the really fascinating thing to me is that you are an electrician.
Yes,
And
I
we're going to
am.
talk about that a little bit as we get into this. But I usually start by asking people, how old were you when you learned to sew and who taught you?
That's exciting. So I started, my mom taught me to sew, but she thought I was going to make garments when, because she used to make lots of garments for me. She made me fancy dresses because I belonged to an organization where we got to just dress up, which is more to the story of why I became an electrician, but that's kind of funny. She bought me a sewing machine when I was 18 for graduation. And I said politely, I don't want to make clothes. And she said, well, you have to learn how to use your sewing machine. So why don't you try a quilting class? And so I took a quilting class to learn my machine at Rochelle's Fine Fabrics. That was in Port Orchard many, many years when she had a box store. And the instructor was a wonderful lady named Kim Stotzenberg, who we became very good friends over the years. And I still keep in touch with her. She's no longer in the Port Orchard area, but we stay connected via social media, which is pretty phenomenal. So they taught me classes. explored all kinds of things. I loved the straight line that you did with quilting versus the curves of clothes and trying to fit garments to work the right way, which wasn't my cup of tea then. But I loved the 1/4 inch seam. I loved stitching in the ditch. I love putting pieces together and making different things. It's kind of funny when you take a full piece of fabric that's beautiful already, and then you take it and you cut it into a bunch of little pieces, and then you put it back into a even more exciting piece of art. So that was my thing, my jam. I've done that for now over 30 years. So there's been hiatuses just because of life, but most of the time I come back to quilting.
So talk a little bit about your career path. You said you were in business, I think, before you became an electrician.
I went to school to be for a business management degree. I always wanted to. I worked retail right out of high school, so I've always been in the retail world, and so I decided that, well, business management is a good degree. Let's go after that degree. And so I went to school. Then life happened. Stopped just shy of getting my bachelor's, but I did get my associates, and then things changed. And at one point in time, I went to the airlines for a while. I worked for Northwest and for Alaska for several years. And then I thought, and then 9/11 happened, and I was like, oh gosh, I got to go back to retail, because I couldn't stay with the airlines. They were going through all kinds of crazy changes. And I was at the bottom of the seniority list. You're going to get laid off. I don't like not knowing I have a job. So I went back to retail, and a dear friend of mine, when I was working retail, and I was like, I can't do this for 30 years. I want something that is rewarding. And a friend of mine was already at the city, and he had said, you know what, why don't you try this electrical trainee program that they have? And I was like, you think I could do it? And he's like, oh yeah, you could totally do it. And so I jumped in with 2 feet, and you have to do a lot of physical training. So I went and got in shape. I was doing 2-a-days. I knew nothing about the electrical trade. But I thought, wow, what a way to be connected to your community. And I would be able to drive around the city as I got older and see things that I've worked on, that I've helped build. So it really kind of helped me with community participation and giving back to my where I live. And it was, I consider becoming an electrical trainee in the position that I have my lottery ticket in life, because I've been able to really grow as an individual. I went through an apprenticeship program, which is a 3.5 year program. It's 7,000 hours of on the job training that you're paid while you're on the job. You go to night school for 1 night a week. You learn from journey level workers. Being a female, I was sometimes called mom. I was sometimes the daughter. I was sometimes the granddaughter. But I have a culture of people who really are willing to take wonderful care of you as an apprentice to make sure that you know how to become a good journeyman. And then you get to give back. So then I was an apprentice instructor. So I helped new apprentices coming through. I ran a crew for several years. And then I had the opportunity an opportunity came open for me to actually be able to use my business management knowledge. And I took an opportunity, and now I'm the manager of the substation work group. So it's the group that I kind of grew up in. I get to take care of them. I get to advocate for things that they need. And it's been a treasure of a job, but it's also been able to allow me to do a lot of other additional things in my life. So, and being a female in that industry is hard. I'm not going to lie. It's hard. But when you step up and you ask for help, and they're all the gentlemen that I work with, they are brothers, sisters, fathers. They're great individuals, or not sisters. Well, there's a couple sisters because they're girls, but they're just an amazing group of individuals. So I'm grateful for that, and I love the job. The job is crazy. Like, I was in vaults, I was underground, I was 85 feet up in the air working on towers. I absolutely loved all that stuff. I have this one picture on my Instagram, if you go to one of my pages, where I really want to do an improv quilt, which is a view from the top of the bucket looking down, where I have a truck and then I have the substation, and you can literally kind of go, oh my gosh, I was way up there. We were 185 feet up. So it was the highest I was ever in a bucket. So it was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty fun stuff. Fun stuff. And you're making sure that people have the necessary things they need with the electric system. So we get called out in all kinds of weather, work storms, trees, everything. So, but
We
yeah.
are very grateful for our linemen here.
Yeah. Well, I like to tell people that linemen need wiremen too, because wiremen. So linemen typically in most power utility companies are doing everything out on the power lines from the substation to the house. And the things that so at Tacoma, the people who work those are they need those. We need each other. We're symbiotic of one another because the wire electricians are the ones who take care of everything inside the fence. And if you don't have the big transformer transforming the power to get on the lines, the linemen don't have any work either. So I kind of we jab back and forth because you'll hear a lineman say, I'm not a wireman, and a wireman say, I'm not a lineman. So, but yeah, it's all fun. It's the trades. The trades are a wonderful for people who might not like to do the academic world. I hope people realize that the trades have opportunities right now where you're making a very good living wage doing trade work. Now you're not in an office and you're not in 70 and sunny every day and you're going to work in a ditch, you're going to get dirty, but man, they're fantastic jobs that so you can be a single family income with some of the jobs in the trades, and not a lot of jobs offer that anymore. So
Yes, my husband does concrete foundations.
oh yeah, he's doing the same thing. That's a necessary thing too.
Out in all sorts of weather.
Yep.
So during this time while you were working as an electrician, you were still quilting, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. There's many of my team members who have baby quilts.
And
So
you
yeah.
said that you see a lot of parallels between quilting
Yeah.
and or art and good wiring.
Yes. So so when a wire electrician, and that can be all the different trades, like even a plumbing job, I think. There's you have to fit a specific spot. There's, we look at it from I think you actually mentioned it in one of your podcasts the other day about fabrication and how your husband might go to welding or how he's going to do this other part of it. But even in the quilting world, even in wiring, you have to have symmetrical lines. We like to be able to, for testing, be able to find where the wires landed and follow that out to where it's lugged on the other end. And if you can do that in a panel, I have seen some panels that look like pieces of art. Like it was very sad for me to have to see the panels come out and be replaced because they were hundreds of years old, some of them, and they were amazing panels, but the wiring is so old you have to replace it. But there's 1/4 inch seams, right? You have to have precision with quilting. You have to have precision with wiring as well. There's steps that you have to follow. There's safety protocols. There's lots of correlations that not everybody sees it. But when I talk with some of the guys in the field, I'm like, oh, this is, you would like to quilt. And they're like, what? I'm like, no, there's similarities if you're willing to look for them and see them. And my tendency to have a little bit of OCD and have that perfectionism of quilting carried over into my wiring or my work and how I made sure the plans were in place and that kind of stuff. So,
I asked my husband one time because he likes to weld.
mm-hmm.
And I said, "Why didn't you become a welder?" And he said, I can't do it as beautifully as some of the excellent welding that I've seen." So
Oh,
I
it
think
takes practice.
it really is an art form.
Yeah. Yeah. And the same thing with wiring. Your first panel is not going to look good. And your first quilt, but that's the beauty of quilting, right? It's you get better. Practice makes everything better. And that's the same thing with wiring. And whether you're, you know, building a substation bus that's going from point A to point B, you're cutting conduit. It's no different than cutting. I mean, I actually was using some of my personal Omni rulers while I was doing stuff for when I do stuff around the house. I'm like, I'm not using your tape measure. I'm gonna go get my Omni ruler. And he's like, what? And my rotary cutter is way faster than what you're trying to do. So
So you went into long arm quilting. Did you kind of jump into that right away, or was there an evolution there?
there was an evolution with that. So I had when we moved into this house, quite a bit bigger. We were in a 900 square foot house for a very long time. When we moved into this house, I had an opportunity to get a grace frame, and I got a Juki. I had a Juki already, but I got a Juki with a regulator, and I did it free motion for a long time on that. And then one year I did the Tula birdseed quilt. And by the time I got to the end of the quilt, I literally was quilting with a stipple stitch of 1.5 inches. And my husband came upstairs and he goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm fighting," because he can hear me not saying nice words. I mean, and I'm not going to say, as a wire electrician, I don't have this. I have a trucker's mouth at times, but I'm very good when much better than I used to be. Um, but he's like, "What are you up here cursing about?" I'm like, "I have no room to long arm." And he's like, "Okay." So he said, "Well, what if you bought a new machine?" And I'm like, "Are you serious?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Okay." So for Christmas one year, he said, "Well," and I said, "Well, if I'm buying a machine, I'm buying one with a computer so that I could do the digital work, because I truly enjoy piecing and bag making more than I do quilting quilts. I mean, it's great to get them quilted, and I won't bind. You'll never see me bind. I will pay somebody to bind, or I'll swap services for binding. I can if I have to, but I don't like it. But when I got an opportunity to get that long arm and doing the digital and the edge to edge, it just changed like everything. Like to see 17 quilts done in 2 months, it was like, holy cow, why have we been waiting to do this? And now it just kind of evolved to where a few friends were like, "Well, you should start offering it as a service, because there's a market around here for people that aren't booked months out." So I don't do a lot of it for individuals. I do pretty much for anybody who asks, but it's evolved into mostly edge to edge. I'm not a big fan of custom. I just like to find the digital design and run my little machine. It's not a big fancy one, but I've enjoyed it. And I've evolved to doing the bag supplies. So instead of having to fight that soft and stable with those 3 layers under your domestic, when you can throw that on the long arm and get it done in an hour or maybe an hour and a half, and now you have a really densely quilted bag, it's changed the bag making for me. Like I love to do the bag making and helping people with that. So
What was the first bag that you made?
ooh, the very first bag I made was probably 20 years ago, and it was the Sew Together bag by So Demented.
Yes.
And I've probably made 50 of those. I've taught that class several times for people. It's a great bag to learn how to do zippers. People get very afraid of zippers, and that one has 4. And it really helps you get a little bit of confidence, and you're not doing a lot of layers. When I went to the quilted bags, my all-time favorite is by Knot and Thread. It's called the A Place for Everything bag. That one is my favorite go-to bag for quilting, for quilted bags. But I've done the 2 big totes. I've done the tools of all trade. I've done lots of variations, but my favorite bag is the All the Things tote by Knot and Thread. It's just because it allows you to do a little bit of variations to it. I think I might be starting to like the Stitch and Stash, which is her new one, because it has a water bottle holder. So I jump around.
What's it like to quilt soft and stable on a long arm? Is
Oh,
it
it's a
different
breeze.
than doing it on a domestic machine?
So yes, well, yeah, because you're not. I It's probably not much different for a person who's not used to using a long arm. On a long arm, I'm rolling the machine and just running the machine. The machine's doing all the work. When you're doing it on a domestic, you're kind of forcing it a little bit underneath the dog feeds, and you're having to fight your smaller throat. Whereas on the long arm, you have all that space. I mean, I can do a 68 piece by however long, and it takes the tension out of your shoulders. Like, and one of my girlfriends did hers on at her house, and then she said, "I'm just going to give it to you from now on, because it didn't stay layered as nicely, even though you put the tacky on it or you pin it. It's not and you have to maybe just do straight line, or you can do some curves, but you have to get used to the layers." And some people don't like quilting that kind of a layer. It's not hard, it's just when you have a big 1 yard piece, unless you cut it down and then you have a little bit more waste, because that's what she was really upset about. She goes, "I had so much waste." that if you had long armed it and then I just cut out my pieces, I could have probably gotten another little pouch to use as a gift.
So you also teach,
I do.
and
I
and
do.
I can tell by the look on your face that you enjoy it.
I do. I absolutely love teaching. You heard me talk about the apprenticeship, so that's giving back. And to me, teaching quilting or teaching bag making or helping a person who has never done something and then having them have that confidence level of like, I can do this. And then when you see them again and they tell you, I've made 7 new bags, I'm like, it's just exciting to see people get the confidence to do something that they haven't done before. And if you can help them through teaching and making them see simpler ways to do it, because when you struggle when you first start, and if I can share so that a person doesn't struggle, then it brings joy to my heart. I've always had a passion for teaching. Even before I was in the apprenticeship, I taught aerobics. I've had when I was little, my mom will probably tell you that, I was teaching my stuffed animals or something, because it's like, oh, how do you do that? This is how you do it. And it's probably, maybe it's my oldest child syndrome thing or something. I don't know, but it brings me joy to help other people. And when you can see people go, I have that confidence, it's exciting. That just brings me happiness. So some people will say I'm extroverted. I'm actually a functioning introvert. I love my quiet time. I like to be by myself, but I can function for a class, and I facilitate several classes at work that are helping with personal growth and that kind of stuff. And that's what I like to see, is when people get confidence in something that they weren't even.
So where are you teaching your it's a tote
My
bag class, is it?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I teach a couple classes right now. I teach the All the Things Tote, and I teach the Stitch and Stash at So Hip in Gig Harbor. Um, and then this weekend, I'm actually going to Forks and teaching a class to one of our local, the guild out there. I think they're the Quilted Peacemakers, I believe, of Forks, and they invited me to teach. So I am willing to go to guild meetings and teach. I've taught it at Tacoma Modern Quilt Guilds meetings as well. So it's just, if you wanted to reach out to me via my webpage, there's a let's chat. You can say, hey, we're interested in knowing more about what you do for teaching. I usually will discuss a couple bag options, because I'm not closed off to just only teaching one bag, but I have 3 or 4 that I teach pretty regularly, and there's some different levels. Like if you want to function on zippers, then I would say the sew together. If you want to function on quilted layers, I would say the All the Things Tote is a great beginner. If you've got more advanced, then I would say either the Zuri crossbody that Knot and Thread offers, or the Stitch and Stash, or optional bags. And then if you wanted to do like, I'm open to even coming to retreats and doing a 2-day class. Like the 2 Big Totes would definitely not be a class you could teach in one day. I've taught that as 2 different weekends, but you could do that over the course of 2 days at a retreat where people are able to work at different levels. But yeah, I like to teach, so it brings me joy.
Do you teach quilting as well, or is it mostly the bag making?
I don't typically teach too much about quilting, but it comes in the course of the bag making class. I'll
Sure.
give tips and stuff. I like to share tips and tricks for making your bindings look good, and how to do handles really well. And yeah, I haven't, I mean, if a person wanted me to do a teaching a sewing class, I would probably say, let's figure out what maybe a quilt block a day or something like that. I haven't explored that yet. My passion is in bags, I would say. The guild will tease you. If you ever talk to anybody from Tacoma Modern Quilt Guild, they'll say she's the bag lady, because I always bring a bag to show for show and tell. So
Did you ever did you ever make a garment?
I made a vest once. Yes. And so we had a friends quilt retreat once, and there was a fashion show challenge, and I made a quilted sweatshirt out of something that I got. So we had to find something from a Goodwill to repurpose, reuse, recycle. And I found a quilted, I don't know, it was a bedspread. It was a cute bedspread, but it was wearable for the event, I would say.
We can't
And I've
all
made
do
a
everything.
no, and you know what? If you know where your lane is and you're happy in that lane and that's where you shine, then when you're ready to change lanes, then you're ready to dive into it. And I learned that I'm not into wearing. It's the funny part about when I go back to like my mom, she was a garment maker and loved making our clothes. And she made some phenomenal dresses for me to wear when I had to go to some special events, but I am just not a garment maker. Not there.
And she may
So
not be a bag maker, so.
nope. Well, she is. She comes over. So it's kind of funny because my mom, my aunt, and my cousin, or my other aunt, when they come over, I set up my studio upstairs, and we have bag making classes.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, my space upstairs, I can fit comfortably 3 people. So here's a funny story because I'm an electrician. My husband went on a golf trip similar to the one that's going on this week, and I tore the wall down 2 rooms and extended my sewing room. And it was like an extreme makeover. Like he left, he was driving down to Bend, Oregon. And when he left, that's when I started moving all the stuff out of the rooms. I had one of my friends from work who was a framer. I said, I need to make sure the house is not a load bearing wall before I do anything. So he came over and made sure that what we removed could be easily converted into like barn door garage or barn door closet doors. And so he helped me with that part. Then he left. I sheetrocked it all in, got it all painted, and then started reassembling the room. And he came back and everything was back the way it was. And I only spent like $450
Wow.
because all the stuff was spread out over 3 rooms already. I just consolidated it all. It was awesome. And he was like, what that's after that happened is when we had the space for a real long arm on the one wall. So he was like, okay. And he didn't like it at first. I'll just give this disclaimer. He was very upset with me at first. He goes, you just changed the value of the house. And I'm like, no, I think I made it better. And then about 4 weeks later, he'll probably deny this if he's ever asked it again. He goes, you know what? Maybe I should have let you take the wall down a lot sooner because you're a lot happier these days.
Increase the value of happiness in the wife.
Exactly. Well, now I'm doing this business, and I heard him on the phone talking to a friend, and he said, she's really busy up there. She always got customers dropping off quilts now. And I'm like, yeah, I'm working on my retirement plan. Like I want to 5 to 7 years, I want to be able to leave the city and have a plan like teaching and quilting and keeping me busy so that you stay young, right? So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. So you think you're probably going to retire in 5 to 7 years
yep.
and you'll keep quilting and teaching. Are there any things that you maybe haven't had time to do that you'd like to try?
Well, I wouldn't mind trying to incorporate some travel with my teaching. So, like if there's an opportunity, I haven't done, I travel currently for work. I would love to travel and teach, but I also have an idea of opening my own little quilt shop where I, when I was on a trip one time, I saw my dream setup. My dream setup was a little quilt shop that had a couple long arms going. One of the long arms was the shop's long arm that they did work for customers, and another one was where people came in and did their long arm work. And then they had a maker space, like a classroom that was also had activity going on in it. And I think, oh, that would be my dream. I'll get there one day. Whether it's here locally, the gals at So Hip we keep talking, but who knows what'll happen. I'm like, there's another building like right next door. If we could figure out a way. And they're like, we know.
You could take down a wall.
Exactly. We could take the wall down. So, but that would be like my dream at the end of the 9 to 5 job, if you want to call it the 9 to 5 job.
So you mentioned Instagram. Do you have an Instagram account?
I do. I have two. One is dedicated solely to my long arm quilting, which is Rubber Ducky Quilting. And then my other Instagram has all my other quilty stuff, whether it's the bag making or sometimes you get a picture of the puppy on that one. That's my public account, and that one's so stitchy, so I don't become so bitchy. No, sorry. Might have to bleep that. But so stitchy. So SEW period SEW period stitchy STITCHY. So yeah, that's the one I've had for the longest. I think the original name on it was when I first started was Jeep Girl 300 because I had a Jeep and a 300 for bowling, but I changed it when I switched it over to primarily just quilt sewing stuff. So yeah.
And you have a website, and that's Rubber Ducky Quilting.
.com. Yep. And I think you can get to it rubberduckyquilting.com or rubberduckyquilting.net. I think I
Okay.
paid for both of them. But I'm trying to build that up. Right now, I have a few kits on that page that are available for purchase. And then you can book a consultation for us to talk about what you would want for your quilting. And then I also have a button that you can click for if you wanted to have me come and teach, like let's start a conversation of what that looks like. It's not high tech. It's pretty basic. I think I've got pretty cool graphics. I've used some pictures from my studio and stuff on there, but that's kind of where I'm trying to kind of grow that base. I needed it primarily when I did the Sew Expo so people could pre-order their kits. And so I kind of grew it from that, which was really nice. Like a lot of people don't realize the behind the scenes that you have to do to get ready for a class at a Sew Expo. I mean, that was such an honor to be accepted to teach. And then, I mean, it was a highlight to be able to teach. I had one class on Wednesday morning. We got to break in the machines and really get to use them, but everybody had a fantastic time with the class. And my joy cup was so full by the end of it. I was on a high for probably a week. And so I will be back next year. They've already approved me for next year. I'm going to teach the same class, but hopefully we'll get more people and we'll spread the world of quilted bags.
Which class did you teach this year?
I taught I called the class because I didn't want to insinuate that I was Caitlin. I want to respect Caitlin's pattern, but I called it Everyone Loves This Tote. Everybody's gonna love this bag, and it gives her kudos for knot and thread as the bag pattern. Everybody bought the pattern for the class, part of the kit, but it was the all the things tote. And so I pre-made the kits, pre-cut, pre-labeled. They had 3 different bag styles to choose from. And then what we did was we assembled it in class, and I taught them some tips and tricks on binding and my favorite tools to use. And I'd say because of this time frame at Sew Expo, like you have that class is normally 6 hours, and I taught that as a 4-hour class. So everybody was able to, if they didn't finish the bag, I think 5 students finished, but everybody had at least one side assembled, so they'd have an example to finish the other side if they didn't get all the way through. I think if we hadn't had a little bit of a hiccup with our learning the machines, because they're not our machines, right? We
Right.
gotta learn the tool that we're using. I think people might have finished, more people might have finished, but now I know for next year, like, okay, this time when the kits are set up, maybe I'm gonna go ahead and pre-iron everybody's binding so that it's a little bit faster, and be sure to know which machine, because it was the basic beginner machine. And for quilted layers, when I talked to the Sew Expo coordinator and said, I don't think that's the right machine for this kind of class. And so next year maybe we'll see a different machine, which will make it a little easier. So, but everybody had a great time. So I had a fabulous time. Lots of laughs were still going on too. And I had some amazing, I call them sous sewists, like, a sous chef. You have a
Uh-huh.
sous chef, the main chef has. I had 4 amazing women who helped as team members. Like people in the class needed help, they'd grab their fabric and go iron it for them, and their machine got hung up, they'd try to help. And then the Bernina people were there too, which was fabulous. So overall, my Sew Expo experience was wonderful. So
Yes. Yes. I think they do a great job.
yeah.
But you're right, the prep work, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh, and then I had a pop-up shop. So they offered a pop-up shop to the instructors, and I was like,
Right?
bag panels, let's make some. And so 2 or 3 weeks before Expo started, is when I got the time frames that I was going to be able to do. And I was quilting panels. My husband's like, honey, because you're going to sit there for an hour. What are you going to do for an hour? But that was uh, it was a huge lift, but it was so rewarding because it also, I mean, it helped me with my long arm business. It got me some people coming and asking me for long arm work. And I sold more of Caitlin's patterns. So there's more people out there making bags. So it was worth it. It was stressful. Now I know for next year, like you're going to start preparing early already, but I'm going to start preparing even early, like already started. Like, I'm like, okay, I want to have this many panels done. I want to have this. And then I wanted to make sure that, things were labeled nicely.
Yes.
And so we get, the wiring person in me, like, you got to have things look nice. So my friends were just like, Christine, you were insane. And I'm like, well, I don't need
But
sleep right
it
now.
makes it a good experience for the students.
Yeah. The students, the people who visit your booth, you feel like you've done everything. You put everything out there on the
100%.
table. So
Yeah.
things will grow. People will see you. They'll look for you next time. Like, I had 2 pop-up days, and a couple people saw me the first day, and then they saw the time frames and they came back the next time. So it's pretty exciting. And in fairness, like, I have several local shops that have been very supportive. Like, So Hip, one of the students in my All the Things Tote class said, you should totally teach a class at Sew Expo. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, you should do it. And the girls at So Hip are fabulous, Kristen and Britt. They said, totally, we'll help you. You're going to be phenomenal. And then, another shop said, if you need fabric, let us know. We'll help you get it at a wholesale price or a little bit above wholesale so that you're not, losing out on that part of it. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. So then it just kind of snowballed a little bit. And then I have people like the Morganette sisters down in Chehalis. She's like, you're going to do great. Just everybody's so supportive in this community. It's a treat. It's when you can open up and not stay introverted, and you can literally kind of tell somebody. Like today, when I stopped this morning before we met, I ran an errand, and we're in the middle of a Pacific Northwest shop hop. I don't know if you know that,
Yes.
but I needed a stamp at the quality in Puyallup. So I stopped there, and I had one of my bags, and they're like, that's a beautiful bag. I'm like, yeah, I teach this class. She's like, well, where's your card? And I didn't have any in my bag. I'm like, doggone it. But it's the funny part about it is like, well, I'll stop by on my way next time and I'll drop some off. But everybody's always so encouraging, and there's so much space for everybody too. It's like, it's not a competition. It's how do you grow together, and how do you help one another be successful, which it's pretty cool.
It is very cool. Definitely. Well, I will see you at Sew Expo next year because yes, I already submitted all of my stuff too. So,
So,
well, I don't want to keep you. We've been talking for a while. So,
oh my goodness, it did go by fast. Well,
yeah,
this
it
has been a
usually
treat,
does.
Janet. Thank you for letting me babble a little.
Oh, no, it's been wonderful. I guests who take off and talk are a podcast host's dream. So,
Well, hopefully, yeah, kept it clean. So it was an honor to be asked to be able to join your podcast. I've been listening intently since our Quilt Guild meeting, where one of our members actually talked about your interfacing class at So Expo, and she told, yeah, you should listen to her podcast. So it's been a treat to listen along while you've been working on different projects.
oh,
So
thanks.
and then to be invited on, it's truly an honor. So thank you very much for reaching out and including me.
You're welcome. Well, I really appreciate you giving me the time. So,
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll see each other at So Expo, if not sooner.
if
That would
not
be great.
sooner.
Like when you're in Washington, just hit me up.
Okay. Check out Christine's website and her Instagram. And if your guild wants her to come and teach a bag class, I'm sure it's going to be fabulous. So get in touch with her. I appreciate suggestions for topics and guests. If you want to send feedback, there's a couple of ways to do it. You can email me at janet@janetzabo.com. You can use the fan mail feature. You can leave a comment on the show notes page. Any one of those I will see. My website is at www.janetzabo.com with links to my Big Sky Knitting Designs website and to my blog. And there are lots of fun pictures of baby birds and bunnies and all sorts of things that are happening now around the homestead. So if you want to check that out, that's also where I talk about my sewing projects. And right now, I am about to head up to my sewing room and make a top or a pair of pants or something. So until the next episode, I hope you have a great week and that you get to go sew something.